Zach's been off in his own little world lately, or rather, in 10 different worlds. Fantasy, science fiction, you name it, he's been devouring it. You hear a lot about my books, but today we're going to hear about his. He's finally going to catch us up on the last 10 adventures he's read. Which of these will be ones you've also read? Stick around and find out.
Hi there, welcome to Fantasy for the Ages, the show where father and son sit down and talk about some fantasy books. I'm the son of that equation, Zach.
And I'm the father, Jim. Thanks for joining us today, where we do also talk about science fiction, horror, other nerdy things, but he's right. It's fantasy today. Maybe. I
Mostly.
think we've got a little sci-fi slipping into what we're going to talk about.
We'll
We'll
see.
get there. We will get there. Before we dive into Zach's book-devouring escapades, don't forget to like this video, subscribe if you haven't done that already, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss when we drop more nerdy content. A lot of you have joined us just recently, and here's the proof. My son and co-host does exist. You've been going through the back content. You see lots of him there too, but I'm glad to have him here today. I'm also glad for the support of our Patreon people. Thank you for keeping this channel thriving. If you would like to be a part of our Patreon community and see what benefits you might get, check out the link down in the show notes and join the fun. All right, here's how today's episode is going to work. I'll be introducing each of the last 10 things that Zach has read in the world of science fiction and fantasy. I'll share the basics and give you a spoiler-lite synopsis. Now, I've only actually read 3 of the 10 things he's jumped into here. Yeah, just 3 of them, Zach. That's it. So the rest, those 3 I've got a synopsis I'm pretty confident of, though he may disagree. The other 7, I just went online to see, okay, what are these books about? Because I don't want spoilers, and we're not giving you spoilers today. This is all spoiler-like content. But I, found what I think these are about. So Zach will be evaluating my synopses and tell us, did I do some great guesswork?
Which is to say that I get to make fun of my dad for misinterpreting the internet.
Fair enough. Now, if I get it right, I want some praise, though. If I nailed it, keep it on. Either way, you will get Zach's reactions to my synopses, and then he will give you 3 reasons why you might want to pick up each book or series, whatever we're talking about. Just like I usually do for my book reviews, but he's going to give it to you for all 10 of these. Boom, boom, boom.
Hey, I'll throw a caveat. There's a small chance, maybe I'll throw a reason you shouldn't read this book.
And that can happen. After each one, we'll bounce into a little bit of discussion about the book series. Maybe I'll have some questions for him, or I'll be reacting to, have you lost your mind on what he says about one of them? But we'll have some fun. Does that sound good to you, Zach?
Yeah.
All right, then let's do this. We start off with the first one, Bury Our Bones in the Midnight Soil by V.E. Schwab. One of your emerging best favorite authors, I think, from the way you
I
talk
like what she
about it.
writes.
Yeah. The genre is fantasy, historical, vampires, very adult and LGBT themes. Brand new book published here in 2025. So again, I haven't read it and it doesn't even sound like my kind of book, but here's what I found. 3 women separated by centuries and continents. Maria in 16th century Santo Domingo de la Calzada, I think I said that right. Charlotte in 19th century London, and Alice in modern day Boston are bound by a hunger that is more than mortal. Their lives intersect through the same soil, thrust together via secrets, forbidden desires, like I said, not my thing, and immortality. They are vampires, whose price is steep. The story explores love, loss, identity, and how past sins, betrayals, and power continue to echo long after they ought to be buried. How'd I do?
Not bad. I mean, anything more, and I'm going to start spoiling things too much, and that's not what we're here for today. So,
Nice.
the internet didn't do you too dirty.
And again, when I say I search the internet, I didn't steal anything straight from the internet. I found information, and here we have a synopsis that's been created.
So I liked Barrier Bones in the Midnight Soil. It's like a 4.5 out of 5 for me.
Nice.
It reads really well. The prose being sometimes quite poetic, but very engageable and easy to get through. If you've read other things by Schwab, it reads very similar, in my opinion, to The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue.
Okay, which I did like. All right.
And so it, to me, goes, yes, this is this author kind of hitting stride and style. If you like what they write, you're going to love this book. That being said, it is absolutely a queer book. There is a queer representation. I think it actually helps the book and emphasizes some of the elements of vampirism, giving a different take on things, as well as allowing deeper relationships. But if that's not your thing, I can understand that turning you off from the book.
Okay.
Beyond that, I thought it was a very interesting, a little bit newer, nuanced take on vampirism, the idea of what time does or doesn't do to us, and trying to break free of social constraints. That was really an enjoyable ride while also being a really messy story in all the best ways.
Ah, okay. Messy in the best ways. Zach is quoted. So you'd identify as the 3 reasons someone might enjoy the book would be what?
That it's written very engagingly, very poetic and connectable in its plot and characters, and it does actually speak to a deeper level of society and themes.
Okay. Do you think it is my kind of book?
I think you would actually enjoy it,
Okay.
though in a similar way to the 5th season, you might have things of just feeling like it's not your book, but you can't deny that it was a good book.
I'd be able to appreciate the story and the writing.
Yep.
Okay. You know I'm here for a good narrative.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And this, I think, is one.
Okay. And is it a self-contained book? I mean, just this
Mhm.
one, it's not connected to other things. It's not going
It's
to be
not a
sequel
series. It's
necessarily.
a standalone. It's just a
Okay.
book. Some magical realism for you.
Very good. Let's move on to number 2, which is Black Talon, which
Yes.
is the first book in the Dragon Blood Assassin series, trilogy. I don't recall.
I think it's a quartet so far, at least.
Okay. Authors Jamie Castle and Andy Pelliquin. I think that's how you say it. Maybe it's Peliquin. I
Sorry
tried
for
to find
saying it
out,
wrong.
and I couldn't find out without watching somebody else's video about the book, and I didn't want to do that. The genre is dark fantasy, epic fantasy. There's kind of elements of both, and it's a very action-oriented novel. 2023 has not been around all that long. My synopsis, because again, I haven't read this one, but this one's on my list. It is on my TBR. Cullen is the Emperor's assassin, bound by a magical bond to a dragon named Umbrus, and charged with hunting down anyone who threatens the Empire. Meanwhile, Natisse, part of the rebellion called the Crimson Fang, is trying to uproot corrupt nobles and the dragon cult at the heart of the Empire. Their paths cross in Dimvane, where betrayals, power struggles, and startling revelations force both to question what they stand for and what justice truly means.
Yeah, it's
How'd I
not
do?
bad.
I hit the main themes.
Pretty much. There's not really a whole lot crazy going on in this story that you wouldn't expect out of that kind of narrative or
Okay.
that summary.
And it's really the story of those 2 protagonists then?
We get POVs from both of them,
Okay.
and their stories are parallel but not the same. Uh,
Okay.
so they interweave sometimes. We see different bits. We definitely see towards the end of the book where things will go even more so and get a whole lot crazier. And I'm here for it.
Is it written as one of them being the good guy and one the bad guy, or are they both virtuous in their own ways?
They're both virtuous and not so virtuous in their own ways. And the nice thing is that even though this is kind of a high fantasy setting, it at least has the presence of mind to not be as simple as a good versus evil. More a realistic politics can get hard and messy, and you can try your best and still very much be the bad guy. And you could be a good guy working for that bad guy, or you could think you're trying to do a good guy thing while also you're still killing people. You're an assassin. That's objectively bad.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. You just put a real world parallel there. I don't think anyone, even in our day, goes into politics and comes through clean. You have to compromise things. You're going to be doing stuff that you maybe would have never stood for in the past. But in order to get anything done, people get a little dirty. I think
well,
that's true.
and there's a very real element of if you are the emperor of this place, which neither of these characters are, then you're going to be blamed for the actions of those beneath you in authority. Even if you tried to stop them or you didn't do it, if there's corruption, slavery, brutality, anything going on under your purview, even if you're not the one doing it, you're going to be held responsible to some extent. And they're not wrong to hold you responsible, even if you are trying to make it better.
Fair enough. All right, give us your 3 reasons why someone might enjoy reading this.
Number one, there is some badass action and things like that. This is very, as you kind of put it, action oriented. It's an engaging story for that reason.
Okay.
2, the idea behind the dragons and magic and these relationships within this world, very interesting, unique in that perspective. Not fully developed and walked through here in this first book, but enough that you can see this is its own thing. It's not just copying a bunch of other things.
Okay.
And 3, a little bit refreshing for fantasy in general. These are not young characters. These are not characters at the start of their journey. These are established characters who have been doing what they do for 5, 10, 15 plus years
Okay.
when we start our story with them. And so you're getting to see experienced people who know what they're doing, who have backstory and trauma and issues that are impacting the narrative now, but we don't have to go through the arc of they're bumbling about learning what they're doing. Oh, but they're also the best at what they do.
Yeah, no Mary Sue's here. All right. I like our conversations here on ones like this because you're helping me decide, do I raise it farther up my TBR or lower it? And for viewers, the same thing might be happening in some cases.
I think this one is very up your alley.
Nice. Let's move to our third one. Another one that's on my TBR, and it's in the top, like, I don't know, the top 10th. You know, my TBR
Top
is
100
massive,
or 2 books
but it's up there where I will read it. This will see the
in your
light.
lifetime.
Yeah, as far as I know. The Rain Wild Chronicles by Robin Hobb. This is fantasy of a high fantasy style, and it involves dragons. It was published over a range of time, 2009 to 2013. It's a quartet. After centuries of dragons' absence, malformed dragonlings begin to reemerge in the Rain Wilds, many of them weak or imperfect, alongside humans afflicted by taint, physical and magical flaws. A group of dragon keepers and their dragons embark on a perilous journey up the Rain Wild River toward the legendary city of Kelsinara, where safety, magic, and ancient truths may lie. Did I just say that totally wrong?
Kelsingra.
Oh, I can't read my writing. In my notes, it's got the underline saying it's wrong, and that was hiding the tail of the G. So I saw Kelsinara. No, okay, I see Kelsingra. I got you now. Along the way, they must confront predatory politics, environmental decay, like acid rivers, mutated life stuff, the prejudices and fears of both dragons and humans, and how nostalgia for the past clashes with the cost of reclaiming it. Well,
nothing you said is technically incorrect.
But
that being said, that does not represent this story in any way, shape, or form, or what it truly means.
Okay.
Like, it does technically, everything you said is true. It happens, but it's lacking in missing context, partially that you get from earlier on. This is a quartet that is about halfway through the Realm of the Elderlings sequence.
So it is part of the Realm of the Elderlings.
It is part of the Realm of the Elderlings. This is technically the 4th set of books.
Okay.
But it is a lot more people focused, character driven,
Which is what
and
Robin Hobb is known for.
very much so. And you see that. And so while it's technically a story of these dragons and their keepers and the journey to Kelsingra, it's less an adventure story about them getting there and the hazards along the way, and more of a like personal growth, coming of age, healing and or revealing of traumas narrative with a lot of complex, messy characters, often morally not great, sometimes getting redemption arcs, sometimes just being awful.
Well, there's the dark fantasy elements. Okay.
And to a certain extent, that goes for both people, dragons, and things in between.
Okay. So I like that. That's going to happen with a synopsis sometimes. Since I haven't read it, I lack the context that you're able to bring to it. Nicely fleshed out for us. This is still, the Realm of the Elderlings. I've said it before in the channel. I've only read the second set, the
Which
Live
I
Ship
think is a
Traders
disservice
trilogy.
for you.
Yeah, so I'm going to go back. Again, the whole thing, the whole series is on my TBR. Give Robin Hobb another shot. But I wasn't a big fan of the Live Ship Traders trilogy. It was okay. It just didn't really do anything for me.
I am through 4 out of 5 of the sets within the Realm of the Elderlings now. I'm starting the 5th shortly. And what I can ultimately say is that the first, third, and what probably will be the 5th are the ones that I prefer, which follow. Oh no.
We lost your image. So Zach had some technical difficulties there. Suddenly, his camera just said, "No, I don't want to work anymore."
Yeah, I
Tell us
decided
about
to
it, Zach.
die. So I might need a new camera now. Unknown yet, but for the moment, I've got it worked out. What were we talking about?
We were talking about this book series, the Rain Wild Chronicles
Oh
Quartet.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
the Ring Round Chronicles. Realm of the Elderlings has been good. I do think people will either side into liking the Fitz series or the Rain Wild series more than the other. They
Okay.
do read differently.
All right.
I prefer the ones with Fitz. I think you will too. It's also where you did yourself a disservice by reading the Live Ship Traders first, because that's in the Rain Wild saga and cycle part of things. And the focus is more on what I see with Robin Hobb is she writes, how can I make some of the most despicable characters and then explain them in a way where you kind of feel bad for them and maybe you're okay rooting for them eventually.
The fact that I only read the Live Ship Traders trilogy, this is like back before we were doing content, before I was really studying all these authors and such. I was just a fan of good fantasy and sci-fi. I happened to see this trilogy sitting on the shelf in Barnes and Noble and said, I'll give this a try. I didn't know Robin Hobb from anyone else. I did not know there was a Realm of the Elderlings that this was a part of.
You did zero research, you just picked up a book
Nope,
and started reading.
that's right. Ooh, look at these shiny covers. That was it. And yeah, that's how I used to read things. I read a lot smarter now. And we're trying to help you viewers read smart as well. So thanks for being here. Although you've probably all read this already and going, Jim, you're a doofus. You should have started with the beginning.
I mean, not to say that a blind date with a book is not a good thing on occasion, but in this case, it does feel like you started in a place I wouldn't recommend starting.
There we go. Well, as for the Rain Wild Chronicles,
Yes.
the first thing you would say about whether or not someone would enjoy this is start at the beginning with the start of the Realm of the Elderlings and work your way up to this.
Obviously. The second thing would be, while I do think it will be necessary to continue out the Realm of the Elderlings, if you really, really found you loved the Fit stuff, but you don't love the Rain Wild stuff that you didn't love Live Ship Traders, I'm so sorry. It will be a lot more like Live Ship Traders than it would about Buckkeep and Fitz.
Okay. And another reason why people might like this particular quartet.
We mentioned it before, and it's worth mentioning again. There is a depth to characterization work and growth that is admittedly remarkable for how little time we actually get. Yes, it's 4 books. Most of these books are actually shorter than most of the other books. I look at it, read it, and it really feels more like 2 books that each got split into 2 books.
Okay.
And each one is only like 400 some pages instead of being a 5, 6, 7, 800 page tome.
All right. Any last thing you would say as to why somebody might want to try this?
I'm gonna just be completely honest. If you got to this, you know what you're in for. You planned on reading this. You're gonna keep going.
There you go. That makes sense. All right, for our next one, we're going to talk about the fourth in the sequence of worlds Zach has spent time in. This is a good example of how we both bring different things to this channel.
Mhm.
He has reading choices that are in areas, I mean, we certainly have overlap, things we both enjoy, but he has things he enjoys that he'll go into that I never will touch, and I do the same. Like, I spent a lot of time with zombie apocalypse and other dystopian type sci-fi or fantasy way out there end of the world things that most of them aren't his thing, especially
my
if they
cup
have
of tea.
zombies. Yeah. Whereas now we're going to talk about Heir of Fire, book 3 of
Mhm.
Sarah J. Maas's Throne of Glass series. And
Correct.
if I ever touch a Sarah J. Maas book, it'll probably self-combust in my hand, because it
That might
just
be a bit
won't be able to
excessive.
handle that I'm touching this kind of book. All right, genre is YA fantasy. It's a high fantasy romance adventure with many subplots. Publication was 2014, so there's a lot more Maas that has come out since then, since this, but this is where he's working his way through at this point. The synopsis I have for this is that Selena Sardathian goes by the name
Good
Cece.
job.
Oh, I got that one. Yes.
I don't know where you got the CC part, but
Oh, really? I picked it up somewhere online. So drop the CC. Okay. Anyways, Selena is reeling from loss, betrayal, and her own broken sense of identity, because this is, again, book 3 of a series. She travels to Wendelin to learn more about her magical origins while trying to master her powers under harsh training. Meanwhile, the opposing forces to her realm are gathering strength, and the darkness that has been rising threatens not just her personal goals, but the fate of her kingdom. Allies, new and old, emerge, and secrets, some well hidden, begin to surface that will change everything she thought she knew about who she is and what her role might be.
So here's the good and bad thing about that synopsis. It's not even, as long as you get rid of a couple of little specifics about like where, you could use that same synopsis for the first, second, and third book, and probably the prequel too. Like it things
these books
happen,
are
and
pretty
yet
formulaic.
nothing changes.
The books are formulaic, you're saying, which is not always bad if that's what people are here for.
And yet, it's more that the growth or progression of the character doesn't actually impact the character or world that much up until this point. It's still just a mess. This is the first on the set of books that we're going to talk about that it was good and fine. I read it. I'm going to keep reading because I have committed to finish the Throne of Glass. It's some people's favorites. It's not going to be mine. I don't like the main character. She is a Mary Sue. Some people are going to come at me for that. Other people are going to admit that I'm right. However, now that I've said some things I don't love about this book, I included specifically this book, not just that I've been reading Throne of Glass, partially because I am only partway through it. This being the third book in the series, but fourth that I have read, because it does like a new spring thing. There's a prequel. This is the first one that I actually kind of liked. It does get better, and I have heard it opens up more, and we move a little bit away from just formulaic, the same story, a little bit too YA and unearned, into we're getting a little bit bigger, more epic fantasy, more POVs. We get some of the characters that I've heard about through the ether of being people's like favorite characters, bits of things that aren't the main character. And I like some of those characters. Manon and the story going on there is actually entertaining and good, and I'm looking forward to seeing where that goes. It's just hard because I don't like how little growth or progression we've gotten, and much of everything about this character feels a little unearned for the main character, for the fact that I've read 4 books. Totally fine if it was the first book. It finally feels like we've finished the first book in a series that will maybe go on to be something.
Okay. Okay. Humorously, I did look up where the heck did I get the nickname Cece, and I don't know. I maybe just misread. I found somewhere else where she sometimes goes by Cell, short for Selena. Is that something you remember?
She gets called various things by various people. Certain
Oh,
people
so
get
do all
certain
of us, right?
nicknames. Uh, if you've read this book, you know that's not her name.
Well, I
Uh,
found that too somewhere online. Yeah, but
so there's stuff going on that leans a little bit somewhere into the YA, somewhere into the possible romantasy. I don't actually qualify this as romantasy. I
okay.
do qualify this as fantasy, maybe even epic fantasy, but with some romantic elements. There are
Okay.
certainly relationships, and they do matter. But this one, I don't think this series, maybe unless it gets a lot deeper into that in a later book,
Hmm.
really hits off into the level of this is a vehicle for romance within fantasy, which is how I often feel about romantasy.
Okay. So you've identified that there are some things that frustrate you about it a little bit, but
Yeah,
what are three reasons some readers might want to read this book, this series?
let's start with this. It is a much more approachable fantasy book than some. It reads a little bit more but it still has grander world consequences and scale, multiple plot lines. This does feel very much like a gateway into bigger, epic, grand fantasy. So I'm not going to say, hey, go read Malazan as your first foray into epic fantasy. That would be tantamount to torture. Going, hey, go read The Throne of Glass is a great way to get someone who's interested in exploring the genre, but not committing to fantasy, get a crash course in some fantasy. It's not going to be the best out there, but it's easier.
Okay. What
In
else?
the same vein, some of the characters can be quite enjoyable, and I certainly do not fault you if you like any of their stories or connect with any of the things. There are absolutely empowering plot lines, and the idea of trying to build oneself or deal with your past that can be very uplifting to a reader.
Okay. One
Finally, I
more
think I'll
reason?
just say if you do like Sarah J. Maas, you've probably already read this. I don't know if that's a good enough reason in my brain to necessarily put it on your list if it's not already there.
Okay. Okay. Now, as I talk about Sarah J. Maas writing not being my thing, I'm not just from the outside looking in. I did try A Court of Thorn and Roses,
Mhm,
which is book one of the series she started after she was into this stuff, because that one comes out in 2015, the first
mhm.
book in that series. And I didn't hate it, but I didn't fall in love with it either. I didn't finish it. I didn't officially quit. I just kind of lost interest and moved on to other things. Technically, it's still waiting that I could go back and finish it.
I have read that series. I stand by. First book's by far the worst.
Okay,
Um,
well, that vibes then. And I was already going into it going, Sarah J. Maas, I don't know. So I wasn't grabbed, and it was easy to then judge and go, yeah, I got other things to do with my time.
it ultimately slides into a genre of books that, for me, ends up being a little bit of a palate cleanse for some deeper things. So I definitely do want to read things like this at times.
Hmm.
Um, but it also hits in the same way of watching The Flash on the CW versus watching Westworld with HBO.
Oh,
Those are
very
very
different
different
field.
shows, very different quality of writing.
Yeah.
Um, but I still enjoy both of them. I just very intentionally have to know what I'm looking for when I get into it.
Okay. Gotcha. All right. Before we go on to your fifth, what are you drinking? Because that is a fun
Hmm.
looking drink you've got there today. I'm just drinking a standard Long Island. They've seen me drink these before, but what the heck?
So this is the Jungle Bird.
You put some
Uh,
work into that baby.
I'm doing something on vacation in a little while that involves making some cocktails, so I had to make sure I could make those cocktails.
Ah,
Um, and so this is rum with pineapple juice and lime juice, some simple syrup, and it calls for Campari. I don't really like Campari, so I don't have it in my house. So I used
I've got
Aperol instead.
yeah,
Uh,
I've got Campari, but I've had it for a long time because yeah, it's just
it's
for
really
the
hit or miss.
occasional
It's either
cocktail.
one of your favorite things or you don't really like it. It's one of my least favorites, but I will usually substitute Aperol unless it really, really needs the Campari because I like it a little bit sweeter, a little bit brighter.
Yeah. I think your mom would like that. Actually, I probably would like that, but she
You both would
loves
like it.
rum-based cocktails.
I
Yeah.
bought a pineapple to cut up to get for the garnish, and it's great.
Nice. All right. So, number 5, we've got The Bone Shard Daughter by
Yes.
Andrea Stewart. This is epic fantasy and known for its unique magic system. It came out in 2020. Here's the synopsis, because again, I have not read this. Crossing my fingers. In the island empire of the Ranas, bone shard magic powers the ruling family. Only attendants know the locations of the shards needed to keep the empire running. Lynn, the emperor's daughter, who has lost her memory, returns, discovers that the empire is failing under misused magic, political threats, and corrupt control over who gets to use shards. Alongside rebels, a displaced general, and a master of the bone magic, Lynn must reclaim her agency, understand the bone's power, and decide what to do when the cost of magic is too steep.
It's not bad. This series has some very disparate plot lines that
Okay.
don't feel very connected. They do kind of line up by the end of the book, and you can see the whole picture. I do think it hurt my reading experience of it, though, just because
Okay.
I'd get into and enjoy one type of story and tone, and then we shifted to a different POV with a different plot line. It's very tonally different, and so the pacing was a little weird.
Okay. Is this a standalone book?
It's a trilogy.
It is a trilogy. And did you
This is
read
the
the whole
first book in the
trilogy?
trilogy. The second's sitting on my shelf. I have not gotten to it yet.
Okay. Okay. So there is more to come in this story.
Yes. It does seem interesting. There's a lot still unknown about exactly how the magic works exactly, but we do know what we need to know to understand how characters do various things with the magic, how this goes on. And really, I think that's all that you need. And that's all most magic systems need. You don't need to be such a hard magic system that you can actually write out all the rules. It does stay relatively softer while still portraying that there are rules.
Okay.
So that's kind of nice.
Overall, you enjoyed the story.
I do think so, yes. It took me a little bit longer than I expected to get through it, but I did enjoy it and am excited for where things go.
Okay.
There
And
is
as
an
you noted,
element.
you've got the second book sitting on your shelf. Do you have all 3, or is the third not out yet?
No, the third's out. I just haven't gotten it yet. I think I was at a used bookstore when I picked up the second, and they didn't have the third at the time.
Okay.
So I just haven't gotten to it.
Mm-hmm.
Thus is the problem with supporting your local bookstores. Sometimes they don't have the book you're looking for.
Yes. But sometimes you can score a gem because,
yeah.
wow, they have this book and nobody has this book, and they just happened to have walked in.
Heck, sometimes you get go to a certain bookstore and it's like, this is my local bookstore, and I go over and it's like, oh, this is the fancy section. They've got signed books that are old first editions. That's cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
It just happens.
Sometimes they will have books that you can't officially buy anymore
Mhm.
because they're out of print, or even the author wants them gone. You know, said, do not reprint these anymore. I hate this book now. I've moved on. But in an old used bookstore, they're still around.
Don't get me wrong. I love me my Barnes and Noble, but I also love going to local bookstores, used bookstores, and anything I can do to avoid ordering a book from Amazon.
Sorry, I'm a supporter of Amazon because of the convenience, like most of America, but I feel you. Okay.
I'll do it if I have to, but I like supporting books in other ways.
You're coming home for Thanksgiving to visit.
Yeah.
Is a visit to Powell's on
Powell's?
your
Absolutely.
list?
Yeah, absolutely.
Because you don't have a bookstore like Powell's where you live, right?
Not
I mean,
exactly.
there's not many used bookstores like Powell's.
Not that big. We do have a fairly large independent bookstore. It's not necessarily a used bookstore like Powell's, but Austin has Book People that is really awesome as well. And that's a big 2-3 story building.
Okay.
It's got some rich history as well.
Yeah. And of course, we shouldn't describe Powell's as a used bookstore. I mean, they do have new books too. They just have a massive collection of used books.
They do have new books, but I do think you can call it a used bookstore because I'm pretty sure it is Powell's Used Books.
Really?
Like I think it's called a used bookstore. I
Oh,
could be
I could
wrong.
be wrong.
I don't
I'll
know.
look it
I've
up.
sold books to Powell's.
Yeah, they appear to just be called officially Powell's City of Books.
Mm. Well, there's the official name.
There you
Uh,
go.
anyways,
Tangent done.
yeah,
So,
back to the actual book.
you want to give us the 3 reasons somebody might enjoy reading this book, and
Uh,
thus the trilogy?
3 reasons. It does have an approachability like the previous book we were talking about, the Throne of Glass series. It's a little more approachable than some things. But tacked onto that, reason 2, it is deeper and richer. The world building feels like it has a little bit more effort to be original rather than be a copy of a classic fantasy.
Okay.
It has more of an Eastern inspired spin. So if that's more your vibe, that's something you're going to enjoy. And you get fun animal companions who are more than they seem. And that's always a big plus.
Oh, you love a good boy. Or
I love
anything
a good boy.
equivalent to a good boy, yes. Speaking of, how's your good boy doing?
Good. He had his cousin over the other day and was running circles around the place. And it's like, dude, you're a part time tripod. And he said, watch me.
Nice. All right, we're halfway through your books. Let's move on to number
Yes.
6. Book of
You've
the
read this one.
Ancestor Trilogy by Mark Lawrence. So this is all 3 of the books: Red Sister, Gray Sister, and Holy Sister. They came out in 2017, 2018, 2019. This is grimdark fantasy, an adventure story that involves magic and a school for warriors of a sort. Synopsis, and this is one I've read. I read this before Zach did. I loved this. I'm a fan of Mark Lawrence and working my way through everything he writes, although I've got quite a bit more to go. The trilogy follows Nona Gray, a peasant girl with a dangerous, somewhat mysterious past, who is taken in by the Sweet Mercy Convent, where girls are trained as killers with magical abilities tied to ancient bloods, actual blood heritage. The world is under threat from political scheming, war, and magical darkness, and the convent is central to ancient secrets like ship hearts, moon magic, demon possession, things that threaten the balance of power. Over the 3 books, Nona must navigate betrayal, internal struggle, including her own personal demons, and I don't mean demon possession now, just her own issues, although maybe I do. And she must choose between paths of power, vengeance, and identity, while the fate of the empire and the moon hang in the balance. Something I particularly value about this story, this is outside of a synopsis, but we've got 2 timelines going on at the same time in this story.
Mm-hmm.
So we've got the past, basically Nona's experience schooling through the convent, parallel with a future story of where things end up. And Lawrence goes back and forth through the trilogy very well, in my opinion. All right, how does that synopsis sound to you?
My biggest gripes with your synopsis on this one are, 1, I don't think it's grim or dark enough to really be considered grimdark.
Okay.
It's certainly got elements at
Yeah,
times,
yeah.
absolutely. But I think it's something that has grimdark elements, not it is a grimdark book, in my opinion.
Okay. Okay, that's fair. That's fine. It's on the borderline. I mean, I think of the nicest, sweetest characters, and wow, the world screws them. And that's grimdark. But I gotcha.
2, see what you say about the flipping back with time thing. Maybe it's just my experience reading it, or more recently, the way you always talk about it makes it seem like it's more really like 50-50, and it's more like, no, depending on the book, it's more leaning one way or more leaning the other way, and there absolutely is back and forth.
I get
But
you. That's true, but I think the 50-50 is fair for the trilogy as a whole, not
maybe,
for each book individually.
certainly that the story, if you only read one of the timelines kind of thing, you'd only get about half of the story, half the books.
Right.
That's fair. No, I enjoyed these. It's definitely unique in how it went about some of its stuff. Warrior Nun's not a new concept under the sun, but
Should
getting
be, though. Really? Shouldn't it be? I mean,
getting a little bit
why are we so
more
comfortable with warrior
sci-fi.
nuns now?
I don't know, but getting a little bit more sci-fi at times, having a bit of a brutal world, a narrow world focus that sometimes is bigger. It was uniquely its own story in a very good way. One thing that I enjoyed out of this that I am shocked I've never heard you mention about it is the queer representation. There absolutely are a number of meaningful same-sex relationships.
It's true, but it's not a shock. That's not what I read books for. That's
No,
not what I'm looking for. So it's also not what I tend to highlight. But you're right, absolutely true in this trilogy.
my thought process is usually if it's in a book and you enjoyed the book and you're recommending me the book, you usually point out that it has that and you didn't love that about the book, but you haven't done that with this one. So
Because
I just
yeah,
it was a
because
fun
this one is
surprise.
just a natural part of the story. There is a difference. If I feel an author is using a story as a platform for queer representation, eh, it's a vehicle to push that. I don't tend to enjoy that. That's not what this is about. It's just
No.
a natural element of the story, and I don't have an issue with that.
I think we will agree to disagree on some books whether or not that is done. However, we will agree that yes, this is just part of the story in this case. Absolutely.
In fact, kind of
It's
a
meaningful to
touching
the
part.
characters and sometimes integral to the story.
There's
That's it.
a couple of nuns where their relationship is like heart tearing part of the story. Yeah. I wonder, is this perhaps a secret? Does Mark Lawrence have an agreement with like real nuns and he's trying to get interest? And now people are showing up at convents wanting to join up. Confused.
Probably not. I don't think so. You'd have to really suspend your disbelief to get that far. But we also know there are some people who don't have great media literacy. They might think this is where the
That's right.
future
When
of
do I get
nunneries are
to start
going.
studying poisons? I appreciated that you added in here that there are elements of sci-fi because I
Absolutely.
categorize this as fantasy. It is definitely a fantasy trilogy,
But it
but
is
there
not.
are definite elements of sci-fi built into this.
It is something that if you saw the grand what is the point of the story and what it is from an external perspective without reading the books, you would look at that and go, sorry, that's a fantasy book? That sounds like sci-fi. That's a sci-fi book. But in the trenches of the story, between the lines, it's a fantasy novel, fantasy trilogy.
There you go. So I definitely enjoyed this. It's tied to other books that Mark Lawrence has written. They're in the same world, even though it's not directly connecting with other characters. But I'll say it
Mhm.
has a different feel than, say, if you've read the Broken Empire trilogy. Some people really hate that one. I don't know if you've read
Okay.
that yet.
Nope.
This has a very different vibe than that. That is all grimdark. I mean, grimdark. And this, as you said, is not. It's grimdark light at best. Give us your 3 reasons why you think somebody might enjoy reading this trilogy.
It has engaging and developed characters. It has an interesting and unique story. And the style of writing is both engaging and enjoyable in a kind of snarky, witty way that I think is similar to the way that Tamsin Muir wrote the Locked Tomb series.
Okay, there we go. Moving on to number 7 is another one I have read. We're talking about Pines, which is book 1 of the Wayward Pines trilogy by Blake Crouch. This is a science fiction series. It's also heavy into mystery, and there are some horror thriller elements baked in. Let me clarify, you have only read the first book of this
I've only
trilogy.
read the first. I'm waiting on the second from the library.
Okay. This book came out in 2012, and my synopsis, which I speak to confidently since I've read and enjoyed this book,
Mhm.
Secret Service agent Ethan Burke crash lands in a strange town. And I don't mean crash lands from a plane, but ends up in this strange town called Wayward Pines and quickly finds that escaping isn't so simple. Everyone in this town is actually unable to leave, they are trapped there. As he investigates the town's secrets, alliances are tested, people vanish, and no one is quite what they seem. The deeper he digs, the more horrifying and cosmic the truth becomes. Pines is less about a small town conspiracy and more about the cost of control, free will, and what we'll sacrifice to preserve order. What do you
You're
think?
not incorrect by the end by saying that that is what it's about.
there's so much I could say that you can't say
No, I'm
about
not
this
going to say a
book.
whole lot
Yeah.
of things. But
It was actually hard to do a good
at the
synopsis.
very end, you saying what you did made it seem like, oh, the premise you'll get from the back of the book is that it's about gaslighting, but actually it's about deeper things. And that's not incorrect, but you don't find that out until the last, like, I don't know, 50 pages of like a 400-page book. So at that point, it's like, is it actually about that? Or is it in world it's actually about that? But no, this book is about gaslighting people. Um, and it is. If you enjoy watching something where you aren't given enough information to really understand what's going on,
That's this book.
but you do get to watch someone else also not have enough information and slowly or not so slowly go insane because everyone is lying to them about everything. That does happen in this book. That's super valid. That might be something you're looking for. That being said, main character, not likable
No, he's not.
uh, at all in multiple ways.
Wow, I didn't think he was that bad, but okay. All right.
Let's put it this way. I neither want to sit down and get a beer with him, nor do I support him in his life choices.
They made a TV adaptation of this. I haven't watched the entire series yet, but the actor plays the role just that same way.
Yeah.
He
The
does a
way
good job.
in the way in which his relationship to his family is depicted both from his POV and from his family's POV feels harmful and toxic in a way that I just don't like the guy.
Okay.
That being said, it was a fine, enjoyable time for a bit of it. You get to certain reveals near the end, and some people are going to read this and go, whoa, and love it. And I sit here and go, eh, feels almost like it fell a little short,
Hmm.
a little lackluster in
That's
that
how you felt.
to me, it felt like it was like
Hmm.
that's all we came to with this, especially because this almost feels like this is what we're in the end advocating. I don't know.
All right. Hearing your take on that, I am not sure you're going to enjoy the rest of the trilogy.
I wasn't sure I was going to. I almost didn't go on to the second book. I haven't started it yet, but I do plan to start going on to it. But after reading the first one, I'm just like, it seems fine. It didn't blow my mind in a, oh, that's what's going on, but more in a, I feel like you just didn't give us the pieces to even try and predict that. You just kind of went, and now I'm going to pull the rug out.
Hmm. In my opinion, having read the entire trilogy, the first book is the best book of the set. The other two aren't disappointments, but if you didn't love the first book, I'm not sure you're going to feel. I'm confident you're not going to feel better with the other two.
I think I would have been more satisfied with a different reveal, something weirder or crazier or something, just what it was. And maybe it's also shaped by some of the things I've read earlier in the year and some similarities I see with other storylines that it didn't connect with me in a way that felt earned as original or worth the confusion of the first two-thirds of the book.
I will be interested to see what you think of book two. Because maybe I'm wrong. Maybe you'll connect with it better. All right. So, can you give us 3 reasons why people might like reading Pines?
Yeah, absolutely. There are some things. While I didn't think the payoff was worth it, you absolutely clearly did. And so, if you like an M Night Shyamalan sudden we throw a twist at the end, that is going to happen in this book. If you do like being confused along with the main character and being gaslit, that absolutely is here in this book. And to a certain extent, if you like seeing how humanity will adapt to stressful situations, including some coercion and fear based control. This is something that will dive into those topics at least a little bit. Maybe not fully explore it in the first book, but certainly give you a taste of, oh, people be crazy.
Okay, well done. Let's move on to number 8 on your list, which is the third book that I have already read. So the final two are new ones to me again. But this is one of my favorite standalone fantasy novels, Tagana by Guy Gavriel Kay. This is fantasy with historical fantasy elements. It was published all the way back in 1990. And here's my synopsis. The land of Tagana once flourished, but the tyrant, Brandon, has erased its name and its memory through magic. as part of his conquest of the whole region. So the people are no longer capable of hearing or retaining any knowledge of the word Tagana. It's gone.
Mhm.
A band of Tagana exiles, including artists, warriors, magicians, they seek to bring back its memory, regain the identity and freedom for these people, even though to do so might mean great sacrifice. They plot a daring, dangerous infiltration into Brandon's court and try to master his magic, hoping that remembering the name could be both a weapon and an anchor for healing. What do you think?
It's a good summary initially. It misses some subplots, some other characters that are just
Yep.
as, if not more important to the overall story to some
Okay.
extent. But it's there. I did enjoy Tagana. There were certainly some elements at times where I was like, this felt like a choice that the author didn't need to make. This relationship didn't need to be this way. This age gap didn't need to be there. We didn't need incest. But
That's a statement that could always be said. We didn't need incest.
exactly.
Ever.
But
That's true. Okay. I don't
disregarding choices.
remember that. That's not a clinging thing to me from the story.
Oh, it's a huge main point.
Wow. Well, you've read it more recently than I did.
And so there are a number of things where it's like, we didn't need these details, or they didn't need to be that way. You could have had the same relationships, but changed a facet of it and made it not problematic. So weird choices on the author's part. That being said, the story and narrative is enjoyable, is engaging. And to me, it's wild that you enjoyed this so much and didn't enjoy the Live Ship Traders trilogy.
Really?
Because I think the way in which it tells its narrative and it unfolds through the characters and the kind of characters that you kind of see have some similarities.
Well, I did read this much later than the Live Ship Traders trilogy, so that maybe is a positive thing that when I return to Live Ship Traders as a more mature fantasy reader, maybe I
You've
will enjoy
grown.
it. Indeed. Something about the plot of Tagana reminds me just a little bit of a plot from the Stormlight Archive, where we have Dalinar, who has completely had a part of his past removed from his memory. His wife, he can't remember anything. He can't even hear her name. It's like magically it's been removed.
Should we keep going in this line, or are we suddenly doing Stormlight Archive spoilers in our spoiler-lite episode?
No, we're just throwing that out there because anyone who's a fan of Stormlight Archive knows what we're talking about, and we just.
I think it's wild to throw that parallel in there because that's about as far as they get from being a similar parallel.
Well, the plots aren't aligned. No, not at all.
At all.
But
it's
the
just
magical
magical
memory.
erasure of a memory or a name, and this other thing that has a magical erasure of memory or name. But everything about them and the why and the how are very different.
Oh yes, very different.
But no, I understand at least that. Don't go into Tagana thinking you're getting the Stormlight Archive.
No, you're getting a much better story.
So I'm not even comparing the two. I'm just saying they are different. That's the comparison I'm making, not a quality argument.
I'm just so grieving over the Stormlight Archive because of book 5. It was just such a letdown.
I think the more time goes on, the more you're just going to enjoy being a hater. And
I'm not a hater.
Matter.
I'm a disappointed. I'm a disappointer. It's like, man, that's not where it should have gone. That was it. That's it. Not a hater.
Generally, I think I'll disagree and kind of enjoy all the people who are left unsatisfied from it. Like, I get a little bit of enjoyment out of that because he didn't know the ending that you thought you were getting.
All right, give us 3 reasons why people might enjoy Tagana, a really old book.
It's not that old, I don't think.
It's 35 years old now. In these days, most people weren't born that far back.
It's not that old. It's old. It's not that old.
The oldest one we're talking about today.
Fair. Tagana is definitely a interestingly written story. If you like Guy Gavrielke's writing, you'll definitely connect with this and enjoy it. It's a little bit more of an older style and a little bit more in my brain, like epic poem kind of style rather than a modern fantasy tale, in that
Okay.
it often does kind of more of a third person telling the story around things rather than a first person POV or even a super unreliable narrative or narrator. The
Hmm.
narrator is generally reliable because we're seeing it a little omnisciently.
Yes. Yes, we are. Okay.
Um, it also does have a very weavy, complicated plot for the sake that it's just one book. You would think you were getting multiple books out of this to be able to develop this in the way that it does,
Hmm.
but it does still build enough and have a lot. And occasionally it's because they tell of things that happened rather than really showing all of the details of the scenes. But that's okay. You get to see
Kind
a
of have
significant
to.
amount of time
Yeah.
told as a story, not just shown as each part of the adventure.
Yeah.
And finally, it does talk to some deeper themes. I don't know if I necessarily always agree to any of the conclusions that are or aren't made. I think it's important with this story to recognize I don't think the author often makes a lot of definitive conclusions, nor makes any for sure this is the morally right outcome or choice,
Hmm.
but rather showing the lengths to which people will go for certain things and the consequences of being willing to go to such lengths and what personal identity or nation identity means to people and
Sure.
the ramifications. So it definitely does have deeper themes.
Your first point you made, if you like Guy Gavriel Kay's writing, you'll definitely probably enjoy Tagana. I was like, I hear you, but the only thing I'd read of his before this was the Fionavar tapestry, which I didn't like. Now you did, I did not,
I liked it better than you.
and I felt this was strikingly better. Just the prose was
I'm not going to
better, the
argue that it
story was
was
better.
better
So
because
if
it
you read
was.
my point, if you tried the Fionavar tapestry and you didn't like it, don't dismiss Tagana.
That's fair. When I said if you liked his writing that you would like this is true because it's not that the writing is different, it is a more refined version of that writing. It
Elevated.
is still that style, but it
Okay,
is improved better and carries to the reader better.
there you go. Let's go to your ninth read. Now we're back in uncharted waters for me. This
Yes,
is Hellbent, the sequel to Ninth House by Lee Bardugo. This
correct.
is urban fantasy with dark academia elements. This came out in 2023, and here's the synopsis I've come up with. After the events of Ninth House, protagonist Alex Stern is pulled into deeper mysteries within the secret societies of Yale, where magic, privilege, and murder are intertwined. She grapples with the consequences of forbidden magic, spectral politics, and the dark history of the societies she thought she understood. Alliances shift in dangerous ways, and Alex must decide how far she'll go to reckon with the secrets others would kill to keep buried.
Yeah, that's not bad. Anything of a better synopsis requires spoilers at least for Ninth House, which I don't want you to
Nailed
do.
this one. Um,
Um,
Alex, by the way, is short for Galaxy. Weird name.
I think it's
Galaxy
cool
Stern.
that you pull Alex out of Galaxy, though. Like, I agree. Weird name. Fun, fun nickname.
Yeah, yeah, totally. Uh, Reading this and the book before it, is it just a little cooler because you've been to Yale? You've seen the campus with your own eyes?
Certain things here and there, I definitely have a mental picture for, and I that's fun. I do enjoy the pretty aspects. It's like if something, I imagine to a certain extent, it's like reading the Dresden Files for you because you grew up
Grew
initially
up
in
in
Chicago,
Chicago. Totally. For the
and so it's
record, Zach did not go to Yale and does not
no, I
owe
did not.
six figures in student loans. No.
No, I do have a close friend who went to Yale.
Really?
Yeah,
Ah, with a lot of debt, or was he rich going in?
I have no idea how much debt he did or did not take on for it. I do not have personal information about scholarships and grants he received.
Man, these
Um,
Ivy League colleges, man. But okay. Now that leads me to the question: was he part of a secret society? But it was a secret, and he couldn't tell you.
it's a secret. He couldn't tell me if he was. No. The long short is I like Yale. I think it's pretty. I obviously didn't go, didn't apply, didn't care to. But having a back setting that I think is pretty is fun. And getting into secret societies and secret histories of things is a very fun space to explore. When you add into it a character like Galaxy Stern, who is very not preppy or well off originally, and a very contrasting in nature character to the situation you're in, that
Mm-hmm.
friction is really fun and satisfying to play with.
Okay.
But we also tie in a really cool element of a more realistic version of magic, of weird dark rituals and sometimes kind of gross things that happen. I mean, we're talking like ancient Greeks doing augury with animal parts and
Mm.
intestines. That's the kind of magic and rituals and stuff that we're going to be expecting in this series. And it is still absolutely fantasy book. We absolutely get creatures, monsters, things that are magic and out of the norm,
Yeah.
but it has some more elements of grounded in realism than a high fantasy book that can be fun to imagine.
Okay. This is on my TBR,
Mhm.
both its predecessor, Ninth House, and Hellbent. Not quite as high up as some of the other things, but it's there. Do you think I'll
It's fair.
enjoy it when I get to it?
I do think you'll enjoy it. I think it's going to be something that is outside your normal wheelhouse,
Hmm.
but not in a way that is any problem for you. Just something that you read it and go, yeah, that was a different story.
I like
Enjoy
different stories
enjoyable.
sometimes. Yeah. Okay. Give us 3 specific reasons somebody might enjoy reading this book. And obviously, you're kind of then connecting the 2 books.
Yeah. If you love secret societies and a collegiate setting, absolutely. If you're into a little bit grittier magical realism, absolutely. And if you want to get a wayward teen from LA on a journey to hell, check it out.
I'm gonna say, you want to get a
Sorry,
wayward teen.
a
Hey,
former
careful
wayward
there. Yeah.
teen going on a journey to hell. Former. They're not a teen.
All right.
Uh,
Very good. Let's go on to
well,
your last reading selection here. And this time we're going back to the realm of the Elderlings.
we are.
We have the Tawny Man trilogy by Robin Hobb. High fantasy, epic fantasy, very much with layers of political intrigue and character driven narratives. That's what, again, Robin Hobb is known for. These 3 books, trilogy, 3 books, written from 2002 to 2005. This trilogy continues the story of Fitz's chivalry farseer after the live ship traders. So this was the 3rd set of the whole series then, is that
Mhm,
right? I think so.
correct.
As he returns to a life of intrigue, once again drawn into the royal courts, the politics of the farseer line, and obligations he never asked for. He must navigate betrayal, family secrets, and unexpected magical complications, particularly involving the Fool and the legacy of the Skill, Hobbes' telepathic psychic magic system. Over the trilogy, Fitz is tested in loyalty, loss, and his own identity, as enemies, old and new, make claims on the kingdom, and what was once peace must be defended and perhaps redefined. How'd I do?
Yeah, no, that's all fair. It doesn't get into any of really the details, really, of plot, but it is fair to
Surface
say
layer. Okay.
because at its core, this trilogy is a continuation of Fitz as a character with world consequences and things that are going on that he's a part of, sometimes central to, sometimes not.
Yeah.
Um, but it's the idea of when you are, let's say, you're a main protagonist of a fantasy series
As you might be, right?
and you try to retire. You try to you get out. Things do have a way of still being connected or in or around you. If you were the main character of a fantasy series, you probably can't just fully walk away, even if people try to let you.
Right.
So this is to a certain extent Fitz grappling with what took place in the first trilogy. Still, this is him grappling with himself, who he is and who he needs to be or should be, and the relationships that he maybe didn't keep connected in ways that he had a responsibility to previously.
Because he was ducking responsibility.
And in many ways while this has real world consequences and a plotline of itself, this is more a trying to wander and come to a closure and realization from that first trilogy,
Okay.
so that hopefully we can have something actually that feels good and happy and settled to reach a final arc in the third set that involves Fitz, the fifth of the Realm of the Elderlings.
Gotcha. Okay.
It was enjoyable. It was good. While the first trilogy is kind of a coming of age, this is like 15 years later.
And
It's
this
an
actually
older
comes
character.
before the Rain Wild Chronicles.
Correct. If you paid attention and noticed that, it reveals that this list is pretty much exactly, with some caveats of where I lumped some series together, the last 10 things I read
Right.
in reverse chronological order.
Oh, in reverse order. I did not
So
realize that.
the most recent thing I read was number 1, and
Which is
the
why it's on
furthest
our
back thing is
screen
number 10.
over there. It's still there. Just under you. Okay. Okay, that makes sense now. That hadn't dawned on me. We're going
I
back
went further
in
into
time.
the past as I kept going.
Sometimes Zach and our brains aren't on the same wavelength. Look at that. I have no questions on this. We've talked about the Realm of the Elderlings. I've heard the good things about Fitz. I do intend to read these eventually.
Mhm.
Just give us your 3 reasons why
I'm not
somebody
even going
might
to give
enjoy
a
this.
full 3 reasons. I'm going to refer back to the Rainwild Chronicles reasons, but keep in mind this is a Fitz and Fool centered trilogy,
Mhm.
and I liked it better because of that. You get more of the same style that you got from that first Farseer trilogy, and so if you read that, enjoyed it, didn't love Live Ship, you'll enjoy this one again more.
Okay. There we go. All right. That's all we have.
That's
The
it.
last 10 fantasy and sci-fi adventures Zach's been on, all revealed for you, complete with my best attempts at synopses and Zach's actual insider takes.
So, with that being said, please let us know, what have you been reading lately? What do you think about the things that I've read? Am I way off? Should I have liked some of these more? Should I have been a little less passionate about the things I did like? Or are there things that you'd like to see me read next and see my takes on? Or just think I'm missing out that I haven't read?
Absolutely. Put those thoughts down in the comments. I'm the one that reads the comments, but if they're specifically for Zach, I do pass them along and I bring his comments back. And again, a huge thank you to our Patreon supporters. You are the best. If you'd like to join our Patreon community, check down the link below to our Patreon page. We would love to have you join in the fun.
Thank you for watching, everybody.
We'll talk to you next time.